Today, I'm going to share with you guys some more tips and tricks that you're not going to want to miss that the top players in the game use to dominate Clash of Clans. Let's jump in. If you take an army that has healers, you've probably had a Fire Mite land on your healers at some point. Now, even though the Fire Mites don't one-shot the healers anymore after the update, there's so much splash damage in the game right now that they're probably going to die very shortly after anyway. But if you have a recall spell with your army, you can recall the healers and it erases the damage being done. But if you have an Ice Block spell with the army, you can Ice Block the healers as well and protect them that way. Did you know that you can tell what the monolith is targeting by the color that it lights up and shoots? If it's targeting small HP things like minions, barbarians, or archers, it lights up and shoots green. If it's targeting medium health things like balloons, hogs, anything like that, it lights up and shoots blue. If it's targeting high HP things like heroes or golems, it will light up purple. Everybody knows that there's a little bit of a delay between the time you drop the invisibility spell and the time that it makes whatever it's covering invisible, but it's about a half a second. In order to find this out, I took 3 different devices with 3 types of different internet connections, and I recorded myself dropping invisibility spells on all of them. With the newest, fastest device on the fastest internet, it was 0.49 seconds. With the slowest device on the slowest internet, it was 0.53 seconds. So about a half a second in order to drop an invisibility spell. How many times have you guys dropped an ice golem only for it to be sprung in the air immediately and get almost no value? One thing that you can do, and the pros do, is take a giant with you, and you're going to put the giant down before the ice golem so that the giant gets spring trapped, and then the ice golem will continue to tank for a little bit longer and get a better freeze off. A flame flinger is becoming increasingly important. If you can invis a couple of buildings and snipe an expo with some rocket looms, usually what you'll want to do is send 1 out ahead and then the 4 behind it. Make sure that you're not going to send them all into a tornado or anything like that. And then you can get a lot more value from the flame flinger. If I didn't use the rocket looms and the invis here, the flame flinger would get 2 buildings, and then on the 3rd building that ground expo targets it, but now it's going to get an additional 3 buildings just because of that small thing, and the funnel it sets is better. It gets a lot more value that way. Did you know that if you're using a legendary scenery and you click attack, the animation from the loading screen actually eats into the scouting time that you would get normally during the base? Obviously, you can click out of this and speed that process up a little bit, but not everybody knows that. And this might not ever actually make the difference in getting a defense versus not. Every little bit helps, and you never know. When using a log launcher, you should always place it in a way to have the logs hit a defense or the most amount of walls possible so that it gets more value. If you can, place it in the way of the clan castle because it will fling things in the air like archers or witches, fire mites even, can damage a lot of the CC before you even get there. It can even take out important defenses like monoliths or inferno towers or poison towers on its way to its target. When talking about the fireball, assuming everything is the maximum level, the only defenses that need 2 earthquakes to go down are the supercharged monolith, the ricochet cannon, and the clan castle, excluding the town hall. Everything else only needs 1 earthquake to die. The range of the fireball is larger than the range of the earthquake spell, so sometimes I need to space my earthquake spells apart to get the most amount of damage. So if I hit this scatter shot here, the earthquake does hit this fire spitter and the scatter shot, but an earthquake spell cannot reach both of those buildings if I place it right in the middle. So I need to place 1 earthquake spell here, and I need to place 1 earthquake spell here so that 2 of them hit the clan castle, so that goes down, but then all of the other buildings affected by the fireball go down as well. A lot of players are starting to take a handful of rocket balloons anytime they're doing a Royal Champion charge so that they can control the pathing of the Royal Champion a lot easier. Not only does this destroy some of those buildings, that way you can guarantee the direction your Royal Champion's going, but as you can see here, it drew the tornado, which sometimes things like that can happen. At Worlds, we saw a lot of pro players taking Lava Hounds with their Root Rider army so that they can send it in and pre-trigger the poison towers before the Root Riders get there so they don't have to deal with it. But another thing I realized is you can actually use them to pre-trigger Rage Towers as well. There's a really good synergy between the Flame Flinger and the Furnace. The Fire Mites will kind of go ahead of the Flame Flinger and they will actually find Teslas, so it will prevent the Flame Flinger from getting in range of the Teslas. It does not scout out skeleton traps, but if the Flame Flinger does draw out skeleton traps, it will protect the Flame Flinger from those skeletons that pop out from that as well. The only times that you do not want to use a furnace with the flame flinger is if it's right next to a ricochet cannon or a crusher mortar, because those defenses will bounce off of the fire mites onto the flame flinger. If you do any type of smash attack, you know just how dangerous the Crusher Mortar can be, but one of the best ways to deal with the Crusher Mortar is a skeleton spell. The only thing that you really need to look out for is not putting it in range of a multi-inferno, but the skeleton spell lasts way longer than a freeze, longer than an invis spell, and it will make sure to protect your army from the Crusher Mortar for a much longer period of time for much oftentimes less resources. This trick might seem kind of useless, but there have been a handful of times where I've used this in real world experience in Legend League. So if you didn't know, if you poison the builders, it actually does slow down the rate at which they repair the building. I've poisoned 3 of the builder huts, earthquaked them all at the same time, and you can see how much slower the ones on the left are repairing than the ones on the right. There have been a lot of times in Legend League where I didn't use my poison because I fireballed the clan castle or whatever reason, just forgot to, and poisoned the builders at the end of the raid to help speed things up a little bit so they can't repair as much. The clone spell, from the time you drop it on the map, lasts for 18 seconds before it disappears. It can spawn things at a rate of 3 things per second. So if you are trying to spawn things that are 1 housing space, it will take you about 13 seconds to spawn all 42 housing space, which means you have about 5 seconds from the time you place the spell down to when you start spawning before you lose some of the value that you would be getting. Now, the clone spells will always spawn units in this little kind of randomized but clockwise pattern. Always. It always spawns them in this little circular clockwise pattern. It is a little bit random, but that's how it will spawn them. This information might not seem very helpful right now, but this clone spell will be good one day, I believe. Well, that is going to do it for this video. If you liked that, make sure you like and subscribe, and the next video that will be coming out, which is part 3, will be all about the Royal Champion charge. All of the tips and tricks for that. We'll see you then.